look, there's also a lot of stuff that the brothers actually put on, and I do a lot of scrutiny. Like when I say scrutiny, I mean I look at what on the chat calls. I actually look at the I thoroughly look at the assumptions that are being made on these different platforms. Like the I Am Batman call, the assumptions that I love looking at the assumptions. It's not about in any way to. I find it if people get a little bit offended by scrutinisation and being interrogated, which is all about questioning, they're really, I think they're really missing the point, because
right.
to question every assumption really, otherwise how else is one going to be able to reveal what someone's saying.
That's right.
You can reveal what someone's saying. It reveals pretty much most things about them. So
right, how can we push an idea or explore an idea without scrutinizing the ideas that came before it?
Well, yeah, I mean, I just go on. I love the I Am Batman calls because there's a lot of
right.
lots of assumptions and without
material to work with.
Yeah, without the assumptions, that's like the work. Yeah, it's like the work. It gives us the work that we're here to do. So I mean, I'll just go through a couple if I may, just because it's a bit of fun. And it's sort of what have we got? Nine, obviously, no. See, for example, could it be you can't fix stupid? Well, imagine whenever you hear a could it be, and I've been hammering this for quite a while. It's suggestive language. It's kind of like I'm going to tell you. I'm going to give you something in a question, and it's going to be dressed in lamb's clothing, but I'm going to be the wolf. I'm going to pass you on a burden, and I'm going to say, well, it's up to you to decide or whatever. And when I suggest, it's a suggestive language, could it be? And it's a statement and it's a claim. So whenever you hear could it be kind of language, could it be you can't fix stupid? Now, basically, you're bringing up a negative, right? Now, there's resistance, and basically there's the terminology of stupid. So
why even bring up stupid? Yeah.
Yeah, stupid seems to know something, right? Because of the one who's bringing the claim, which is the could it be question. I mean, you'd never ever figure this out if you didn't really bring all this technology and this language and bring it into subjection. And when you bring it into subjection, it's not for you. Imagine looking at a language without going into meaning, and you're just looking at like you're just rearranging and putting the terms or words into like a categories. So there's similar words that go into a box that's a kind of a similar category of words, and they all mean pretty much the same thing. And when you start doing that, it starts to funnel its way. Always, everything comes back to the word, and when we're fixated on this is where it becomes a real problem, is when there's the identification of a particular word. So when you identify with a word, you're pretty much possessed. And that possession is what you're holding on to, and you need to defend it. So you're defending a word with whether it's it could be our forefathers or all that bullshit. I hear a lot of this stuff about forefathers and the rights of we have a right to travel, and we have a right for this, and all of those things. It still comes back to terminology, because a right to it's all goes back to a belief. What is a right? So now that someone wronged me, right, now that someone wrongs me, what rights do you have now? It's like really looking at the assumption of rights, and looking at all the terminology there. Yeah. So anyway, and then basically, could it be you can't fix stupid? It goes, no, obviously now more than me. So these are some of the banter that goes on. So whenever you answer, could it be you can't fix stupid, and then you use the you is kind of like the knife to the throat. You know more than me.
Yeah.
It's a war language. It's
Right.
a language. Whenever, I don't know if anyone can conceive this, but we're going to go through some of the letters later, and you'll start to see exactly what is this you offer. And everything isn't, if it's true that everything is an offer, then how are you going to flip it? How are you going to look at the opposite perspective? And if there's that possibility to flip it, then you're closer to the truth. Does it mean there is such a thing as truth, or does it come back to what is truth? You see, so it still brings, it's helping that process of the unlearning and unfucking yourself from this identification, which is very, very strong. And I'll go into that in a little bit more if you guys are interested.
Yeah, brother.
So
Why is it so bad to identify?
Well, it's the identification. It's not about good or bad. It's kind of like because when you identify something, you're putting yourself before the maker, and that's a hard one to see, because once you go into identification, for example, there's a little sign here goes, the moon taught me it's okay to go through phases. The sun taught me no matter how many times you go down, keep rising. So it's kind of like once you identify with anything, for example, the moon, it's the term. If you start looking at words, right, rather than like the meaning, whereas I look at the moon, I look at the word. So the word taught me. Well, how do you know about that word, and how did it teach you anything? How did something speak to you? So you're actually you're either being told that's what it was. So you're going by hearsay, and for you
or you're
to be
interpreting,
taught,
right?
yeah. Another word for taught is basically you've been the word was sounded out. The moon or whatever, you've had to sound out a word several hundred times as a kid to all of a sudden be encouraged. Now you start using, and then you look up in the sky, and there you go, there, mummy, identification, that's a moon. So that's where it all starts. And once you start to look around and go, that's a moon, mummy, and that's a car, and that's a policeman, mummy, and you start going with these identifications, it's a taught program that is now in the psyche or the mind of identification. Yeah, and I spell it out, and I sound like a bit of a lunatic saying it, but it's a huge one, and to empty the mind of such phrases or such things, it's not easy, because it's kind of like the moon taught me, the sun taught me. Well, unless it's speaking to you, how did it teach you anything? Right? And the only thing that speaks to us, see, these terms and words, so whose property are they? Bring it all back to the property of the word is with Yeah, keeps going. Everything keeps coming back to the word is with who? Yeah, the Father, whatever you want to call it, the possessor. And if it's true, then ask, what do these words mean? Ask, bring these terms into subjection to the maker. Actually, if it helps you, go into the scripture and find out where it says, if there is a scripture, bring all words into subjection. Bring all understanding, which is understanding is another word for interpretation. Bring all terms before the Father. What is it? In subjection. That's the proper. I think that's one of the words that is used in the scripture. Bring all terminology, all words, terms. Bring it all in subjection to the Almighty Father. And that is the only the only one who is the identifier. Is the identification always comes back to I am, and once you start seeing the I am, we answer to the you. So someone speaks to you, hey, you, where you going, or you got the you sort of language. And then it always the I is always responding through an answer or a statement or a response, instead of pausing for the moment, slowing it down, and then asking the proper question. What do you mean? Or and going from there. Yeah. And then one guy goes here, could it be the Lord, the Word, breath of eternal water? Could it be forms, words? Beginning was the words took all forms. Well, the Lord in all, it depends. What is, it comes back to whose property is it and what do you really know about it? But then again, the beauty of all with the words, the beauty of words, it comes back to where there are two who agree, there in the midst I am. So use the words. Kids use words, no problem. Amongst yourself, use the words, and do it amongst one another. Words weren't meant to be. We're not meant to be. If you're looking at the technology of the language was not meant to be weaponized. It wasn't meant to be for the weaponization and the use for one another, because it was love one another first, which is the love is how may I help, which is the intention. I intend, if I speak the I am, it's amongst your brothers and sisters, but you don't do that when you're talking to the unknown factor, the unknown force, which you will learn in very, very hard lessons if you believe that you're talking to a brother or sister, or you're talking to an agent or a representative. If any asshole out there believes they need to talk to them in any way and bring up any terminology through questions, well then record it and then bring it on the show, and we'll have a scrutinisation lesson. It'll be a lot of fun. What else are you going to do here? So you telling the truth. Always when you hear you telling the truth, and he goes, well, what's your offer? Blah blah blah. So there's a lot of banter. It doesn't actually deal with anything. A lot of calls. Could it be the only thing that matters is what you believe? Actually, that's actually always putting the burden on the other. So there's always some kind of burden that you're passing on. Could it be? In other words, it's always about. In other words, it doesn't matter what I do. I can set you as many traps as I can. I'm going to set you a trap so you can fall in every single fucking trap, because I'm just a redhead asshole with a red iron, and I'm going to poke it in your eye. I'm just going to say, could it be? The only thing that matters is what you believe. But I'm going to poke a red iron in your eye, right? Because I'm an asshole. And that's what assholes fucking do by asking those could it be questions, right? The only thing that matters is what you believe. Well, what makes you think one fucking believes anything, you know. What you know. So by bringing up what belief is, basically it's looking in the mirror and showing the arsehole asking the could it be thing, the suggestive, that individual is revealing that they're already in belief of matter. Yeah, they're already in belief of matter, because they're bringing up the terminology of matters is what you believe, but they're revealing that they believe there's a matter. Okay? And this is, and if you start to investigate the language and you start to look at this technology, you'll see everything is asked about. It's always in reverse. And if you can start to look at what's before you and start to open it up, how about everyone ask what I'm doing? Oh, first of all, what do you know about everyone? I mean, look, there's a lot of garbage, but I mean, you know, amongst all of that, there's also, you know, a bit of gold too. So let me have a look. There's, oh yeah, dark side of the moon. Oh yeah, we're nearly there. I wanted to show you guys something. Prepared tonight. Does tomorrow come? Does tomorrow ever come? What does he go, Greece? Drinking. How about that? Son. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There you go. And then there's someone makes a thing about the sun taught me, no matter how many times, blah blah blah. So even the sun, how is one taught anything unless you're guided by the hand of another and shown how to do something? That's about the only thing we're taught. If you really want proper teaching, is only through the act of showing another how to actually do it. Like if you're going to build a house, you're going to be, you know, looking at the foundations. There's going to be mathematics involved. There's going to be materials involved. There's a whole lot of things there, and you're going to be watching and learning how to actually, you know, build a foundation, and then, you know, the proper foundation on proper footings, on proper ground, you know, bedrock instead of shifting sands, and go from there. So these questions go, could it be it's all about the moment? Now, so you're suggesting, could it be it's all about the moment? Yet, as soon as you bring up the moment, okay, what do you know about moment? Now that you're again in possession of terminology, right? It's very, very hard, and I don't know if anyone, and this has all got to do, this all comes back to court. Once you start talking, and on a daily basis, we don't actually bring this so-called language or this technology into subjection. We just go rambling. The judges call it ramblings of a madman, and that's what you're a madman when you're bringing up terminology that you don't even know. You don't know where it comes from. You're using a technology that you inserted up your ass, and now you're fucking defending. Once you inserted it into yourself, you were encouraged to take it. Then you inserted it, and then now you're defending it. That you know, through identification, you're defending it with your life, and you've only adopted the program, and now you're claiming as if you fucking know it, and you're prepared to die for it. I mean, how fucking bizarre is that? So this is what we're looking at. Another one we're looking at here is the law of mirrors. I'm just going to scan out that. See, again, whenever you see you, it's always look at you as a statement. Could it be you, or you cannot see? Well, so you cannot see. Well, how do you deal with that one? You cannot see. Okay, can I see? All right. Right? Something in another human being. There you go. This is something really, really, I think there's some good gold in this, is you cannot see something in another human being unless it's in you first. Well, first of all, it's what one brings up. If the other so-called human being doesn't actually bring anything up, what do you know what you see? Unless it's in you first. So, yes, so if it's not in you, you won't recognise it. Our reality, which is our possessions, like our reality, is it really our reality? Yeah. Whose reality is this? You know, if we're in the hands, you know, in whose hands is the breath of all life? So our reality, these are all claims, right? Our reality is reflecting to us, which is legion, us, they, them, and all of that, that which is within us. We see the world, again, we, legion. So we see the world. So whenever you see legion, see it as an AI, artificial intelligence, and it's hearsay. So really, this is just another program. Whenever you see our reality, whenever you hear we, whenever you hear you, whenever you hear these statements, even when it says, if we find, well, you know, as soon as you agree with we, you've now mentally got an accord. There's a mental accord with this statement. So you're actually interpreting this now. So the accord is between you and that piece of paper or that statement on the screen. And there's an accord with your thinking. So there's that's called a meeting of the minds. It's the biggest head fuck you'll ever come across. But the meeting of the minds is you've got a meeting with this interpretation of we, and you don't even realise it. As soon as you go out in the world, you think it's all very innocent when you start feeding yourself this shit instead of actually seeing it for what it is. You start thinking, if we find insecurities in people, what do you know about insecurities, about people? Do you know people? Right? Once you start thinking about people, you must be God, because what do you know? Have you met everyone? Right? Then at some level there is insecurity in us. I mean, us, again, we, if we find someone inspiring, then there are traits in us that we can see in them. How we judge is always reflected back on us. So the judge has got to do with the identification, or going back before, the identification of I am, and the judge is the, once we go into the defence program, we're defending what we've adopted, and we go into judgment mode and defending. We're going into defending one's position, which is the adopted program. Okay, so the adopted program is rather than scrutinising the garbage or the statements in front of us, we go into belief, and it happens in the blink of an eye. Right, so you cannot see something in another human. Well, you know, what can I see? And what do I see? You know, this is the if you like to unlearn these programs, unless it's in you first. Okay, in you first. Well, you know, if it's not in you, you won't recognise it. In other words, if it's true, it says in the scripture, find this other scripture, if you can. It says, recognise. The only thing to recognise is recognise the Father, recognise the possessor, recognise the possessor of the heaven and earth. And who are you to recognise anything else? Because what do you know about what you recognise? Recognition is going into the world of demonic possession. Pretty much it. Nice and simple. How's that all sound? Pretty fucked up.
Well, honestly, man, when you're reading it, just listening to it, purely listening, it sounds crazy for anyone to speak as more than one. It honestly sounds like lunacy.
Yes. It is actually, that's where the psych evaluation all begins, and that's why, boys and girls, if you're looking at, that's why that's why this is so wonderful to look at. And then Batman actually puts his little 2 bobs worth in. He goes, when can I meet the claimant? It's like now he has just bought into the whole proposition of the law of mirrors, which actually I might just, fucking hell, I might just have to, sometimes I have to send that to, how do I do it? Oh, shit, man. Has anyone got access to the bat thing? I don't fucking know. Hang on a second. Hang on. Forward. Okay, forward to the possessor. Here you go. God, I'm bloody hopeless. Okay. So just little things like that. I just see. There you go. I've just sent it to you. Can you see it on the screen?
Yes. The law of mirrors.
Okay. So I was just so you there's a little. You boys can just see what I'm talking about, and then yes, it comes across innocently if we find. Yes, there's a good question if, but don't ever put. You want to be careful of the we, and then you've got terminology straight after it. And I'm going to go through those letters later, and it's going to show you exactly how the system operates. It's completely doing exactly what I'm talking about. It's fucking mind-blowing. Once you start connecting the dots to all this, you just go, oh, this is too much of a head fuck. No one's doing this. Who the fuck is actually scrutinising this in this way? It's actually mind-boggling. What else is there? What else is there on this fucking thing? There you go. And then and you can tell someone who never ever changes the narrative. And so what do you mean the narrative? Someone who's always pushing the program. Someone who's always is peddling. Yeah, they're peddling the same old story, the same old. They're peddling the propaganda, and I call the propaganda. These questions are the big propaganda. When can I meet the claimant? Wait, be patient, bat one day, blah, blah, blah. And then Batman goes, someone goes, when can I meet the claimant? And someone goes, have you looked in the mirror today? You might get what you asked for. I mean, this is the questions other people are asking. And Batman goes, have you? In other words, he never actually deals with the offer. He always deals with pushing it back onto everyone else while he's also putting the iron in your eye as well. And he says, look, you're looking in the first-hand testimony, you compare notes. Could it be the only first-hand testimony is what you have lived? Yeah, okay, big deal. What have you lived? Has he ever, it's kind of like once you start seeing it as someone makes a statement, right? Someone makes a statement. Imagine, okay, this is what I'm trying to put across to you boys. Imagine if it's true, this language is not meant to be for you. So every bit of offer, everything you hear is to pass it back. It's not for you. It's not for you to. It's not for you to decide. This language is not for you to. It's up to you to decide. It's not for you. Imagine it. None of this language is for you to possess, to take in any which way or form. The only thing this technology is designed for you to do is to pass it on, is to pass it back in its mirror question. And if you keep it for yourself, well, that's the beginning of, you could call it, demonic possession. Okay, once you keep it for yourself, that's when it becomes you need a psych evaluation. Okay, it's become big time problematic. Okay. What if I could do with that? Tell me, looking for it. All right, questions are until one listens. Oh yeah, and then you hear this one. Until one listens to the voice within, can one help? Well, so what one's doing is they're putting themselves up as the title holder of the little voice within. Like they've got something special about knowing or understanding the little voice within more than anyone else on the planet. So you become the God incarnated to basically preach the little voice within, that I've actually got the title of this little voice within, and everyone else has got to listen to me because I'm preaching. You guys have got the little voice within, but you've got to go and listen to the little voice within, because what you're saying is just not, is you just didn't listen to the little voice within. It's actually a fucking, it's a ludicrous way of thinking. And then have you tried it in first hand? Like, it's just endless. How about you? How about you? Did you live it? So it's always, it's like, it's putting always the burden back on the other rather than to help the other out and open up the door to look at another possibility. And that's why I find a lot of the calls are just like a rat-infested cage where it's like a snarling, a bickering, and it's just going around in circles. It doesn't do anything. It's useless. I don't know where it was. Was someone inspired by Buddha or God? I don't even know where half of this rubbish comes from. But it is fascinating. Like in some way it is. And then it goes back to the trigger, finger pointing, and all this sort of stuff. And then it doesn't take long before the arsehole language starts coming out. If you say so. There you go. That's the Batman. If you say so. I mean, how's any of that helpful? Anyway, I just thought I'd go through a couple of those bloody calls because I just find them a little bit kind of not irritating. I find them it's like, I don't know about you guys, you find it's like stuck in some time warp.
Well, it's almost like for brothers who preach and love staying on point, it seems like there's an inability to actually focus on underlying, words. I guess the words are even choose.
If you can see that all words is the property, we're using a technology, and you, the thing is, this is probably the hard thing. Once you identify it, you actually think it's all about you. Right. You think it's all about you. Thinking that this is you're actually trying to preach or teach someone something, and yet it's the very fucking program. You've been programmed with it. You've inserted it in you, and then now you were encouraged to take it. You inserted it into yourself, and now you're preaching it, and you want everyone else to fucking buy it. You know what I mean? It's a perfect system. That's why I say it's a perfect system, because it's the people who just can't seem to realise for some bizarre reason. And it's very hard once you've inserted it. Very hard to unfuck yourself. It's extremely difficult, boys and girls. And that's part of the training, I suppose. Where was it? I was trying to look at some others. There's a whole lot of other things on L's Snack Bar, whatever. But anyway, I won't go too much. Actually, downplay devotion. Be careful. Look, I want to ask the agency. Oh yeah, someone was talking about. Oh yeah, I said something like, what did I say? Someone said something about the letters were about to go. Maybe we have a call later. So Mike, anyone know Mike Ray?
Yeah, he's on the call right now.
Oh, good. So that's good. I'm glad he's on the call. Goes, maybe we can have a call later. Daniel and Brother Boon, hold on to the letter. Yeah, I will. Citation. It says here on the so-called citation license being cancelled. Spoke to the court there. So I basically go, finally revealed one spoke to an agency. Look, whether they ring you or you ring them, look, it's not about right or wrong, or look, initially when I first started the journey, maybe I started talking to them in a way, and then that was like 20 years ago. Now I don't ever speak to any agency, just don't do it. All I do is recently, because I've been sending these notices back and doing what I've been doing, very rarely is there any junk mail now in the mail. I think they're finally getting the message. It takes a long time though, boys. It's
so are you just sending it back? Are you saying, do we have an agreement? Are you saying anything?
Well, look, if I have a face-to-face kind of a thing with someone, like for example, which is very rare now, very, very rare. I don't even receive a receipt or a citation or a note or anything from any agency. But if I did, like one of the brothers did, there was still there was a face-to-face thing, but there's obviously no meeting of the minds, just a face-to-face thing with another alien or an anomaly in the system, which is what do you think you know about the one in front of you? You think you know about them, right? Because and then what happened is they, as soon as they sent all the paperwork to the bro, he asked the agreement question, which is, is there, because he had his name on the paper, is there a signed agreement between you and me on a piece of paper before the judge? And that worked very well. And then in the end, we basically, it kept coming back to neutral. Every time we sent it back, It was de-escalation. The questions we are asking are de-escalating. They don't escalate. Now, this is very, 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 very important. Asking the proper questions de-escalate. You may have experienced that yourself there, brother Dominion. And it's by asking the questions, they've got to go to their superiors up the Jacob's ladder, find out what the fuck to do, and then they come back to you. And then they de-escalate, only through the questions. So I'm basically saying that if you talk to an agency in some way, when I say you're risking it, it means that, you know, if you believe you own something, you're risking it. But, you know, what are you risking at all? You know, at the end of the day, it's basically don't talk to strangers. And if they ring me, I go always, why are you calling me? Number one, if someone's calling you and you do not know them, why do you call me? And then they will go into their full explanation. This is what you want. See the explanation as the rope. The more someone is explaining themselves, the more rope they are giving themselves. Okay? So they set the trap. So they explain themselves. Once they're explaining, then you say, do I know you? Right? Right? Big one. Because do I know you? This question seems to completely perplex 99.9% of people. They don't understand why this question is relevant at all. This question, do I know you? It all lines itself with the possibility. How can there be the possibility of a meeting of the minds, which is only possible through brother and sister? And I'm talking actual brother and sister that you know, right? You have a meeting of the minds with your children, with your mum, with the wife, and maybe with your mum and dad. That's the meeting of the minds you have. Even Batman said he had an alleged meeting of the minds with me, and I said, well, I'd like to see you as a brother, and if I do see you as a brother, I'd like there to be a meeting of the minds, but there's a lot of dots. And probably 10 or 20% that makes sense of what you're talking about, and you've got another 80% of things that are completely missing, completely bamboozling and upside down, inside out, and have no effect in the reality out there. And when you start to practice the stuff that you know out there, and you start doing it, and then you start realizing, holy shit, that's the beauty of fuck ups. Is how is it a fuck up? If you actually start to learn and do the journey. So if you're in a bat cave for 25 years and you've basically done something that might have worked back in 1970, that's fantastic. But the system evolves. Basically, when I say it evolves in a sense where there's updates, and the updates come back to a simplification. And it all comes back, and nothing's ever going to change when it comes back to the where and when. And that's time and place, and verification. Once you verify time and place, and that can be, I came over to your place, says an agent, and as soon as you go, oh, I don't remember. Now you've just provided the identification of remember. Now we've got contacts. Now we've got contract, got business. So now we can investigate further. Because of the I statements. As soon as you make an I statement, and we're going to go through the letter in a moment, you'll see it all there. It's all there. Nothing's hidden from us, boys and girls. You don't need no fucking rocket science to go, oh, fuck. We're actually, someone has to, preaching it. Every single thing is in front of us. Why is it so fucking difficult to see? Is it because we're just wrapped in possession? And that is very hard. Yes, it's not easy to bloody see. All right. So let's go through.
Brother, quick question. So what would you say to the agent who said, I came to your house? So what is the mirror question for that?
Oh, well, that's easy. Did you? I came to the house. Did you? Do I know you? Right? And then I'd go, send all, and I said, and then said, look, before we continue, put all one's intentions, right? You put your intentions, because intentions got to do with you're putting it back on them. And the intention is, why are you calling? I'm calling to put together a payment plan and pass on a claim to you. That's what Batman's doing. So the intention is to put a claim on you, and you're going to pay. That's all that an intention is. So you're asking them what their intentions are, because they've already explained to you what they're going to do. Right? They're going to confiscate your sorry ass. They're going to do this to you. They're going to do that to you, and all of this kind of stuff. Right? That's intention. Okay? And it's the intention is for you to take possession of property that don't belong to you. And if you want to look at it, let's look at the let's go for it now.
Yeah.
Where's that where's the letter? Let's go for the letter now. Where is it? Hang on. Oh, here it is. Yeah, let's go for it. All right, I'm looking at the letter right now.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. State of West Virginia. It's beautiful. They just spell it out straight in front of you. Fuck, mate. As if the division, a division of whatever. So this is to do with parties. Yeah, division of fucking this, and this, driver service, whatever it is. Then it's got toll free. There you go. I like that, because it says toll free. That means everything's free. So they're just they're just revealing fucking everything's free. They put toll free. What do you know about the number? But anyway, they've got the order. So why don't you start to investigate this order? Has anyone ever investigated what an order is? Huh? All you got to do is just have your dictionary. Bring your dictionary with the state, with the division, this notice. Bring the order, bring the dictionary, and the scripture, and make sure it's a King James version right next to you. Okay, it's very simple. You don't need anything else. This is it. All right. So an order, right? It's to do with some kind of when you go authoritative direction or instruction. So an order has got to do with the main man. So an order is also got to do with parties, right? That's why we always talk about parties. So there are multiple parties involved in this order. So in other words, legion. So how do we know that? Okay, let's go and investigate. So boys and girls, if you had half a brain, hopefully no brain at all like me, you'd first put up the piece of paper, your photocopy of the piece of paper, and then you start circling divisions. You start circling the parties. State of West Virginia, parties. Division of motor vehicles, parties. Driver services, address, parties. Charleston, parties. WV, all that fucking shit, parties. Phone, toll, free toll, all parties, right? Order, to do with parties of suspension notice, right? Very important. Michael, whatever his name, he believes he fucking owns. That's a party. Now, you won't believe, let's just start off with the parties, right? So the parties are, right? Hang on, let's just fucking So the parties, right? There you go. Name of court, that's a party. Town of Whitehall, right? The complaint. There's a submit to division. Mate, there are so many parties in this fucking thing. It's incredible. Circuit, municipality, verification, division of motor vehicles, the motor vehicles. You could be circling up the top there, parties. What the fuck? Who are all these parties that you're dealing with? There's fucking multiple parties. Can you see all the parties? It's all there. Visiting our website. Our is another party, right? A cashier is another party. A certified check is there are also other. They're like another party, right? To verify the bullshit you're talking about, right? You may appeal, right? A commissioner of divisioner, right? A hearing, and it goes on and on. the amount of parties in this document, I don't know, boys and girls, can you fucking start seeing? The last time I asked you to, the Marx Brothers with the contract. So that contract, if you listen to that again and even put it up again, it's all related to this document, right? And this document is it all about the parties? Once you start seeing the parties, you're dealing with multiple parties. There's an order, right? There's instruction, a command. So once you see the parties, you start seeing plural, legion, right? They, them, we. Hang on, let's see. Where is they, them, we? Okay, first of all, you're the possessor. How do you know that? You're driving. Can any of you boys see that? You're driving. So it's your possession. You're a privilege. It's privilege. You know what a privilege is? Okay. Well, first of all, you just probably best look at every single word and then go into what's, your. And you look up your. Well, your is basically, it's possessive, possession, right? It's your driving privilege. You believe, you're into belief, so it's now you're in the possession. And privilege, right? Privilege, right? You go into privilege, right? It's a right. There you go. Every arsehole believes they have a right to travel. Okay, has anyone heard that? Hello?
I have heard right to travel, but the only reason why I've ever been interested in it, brother, is because there are all these court cases and judges who have spoken on it in the rulings. It's been brought up in so many ways, not by people,
That's right.
but by government agents themselves. They claim it that this thing is out there or exists.
Hey, listen, brother, keep them believing, and that's the one thing the whole system runs on. Is keeping people fucking believing, and that's what we're looking at, and that's what the courts, the whole system is there to get you to believe such things as privileges. That, in other words, the goyim, the people who are the goyim, the you call them the rat fest, the rats. They get the rats on the dock of the boat, of the ship, get them to believe in such a privilege. Okay, once you get the people to believe it's a privilege to fucking drive, right? Then you start believing, oh, I've got a right or an immunity because the government or some arsehole didn't even tell you, but yet you've either interpreted it on your own, because what actually happens, if you look up above, you start to see, let's have a look. If you look up above, where does this? I was looking at orders. Oh, yeah, you're looking at notice. You boys ever investigated what a fucking notice is? I mean, come on, everything is here. You don't have to go overseas or around the fucking world to discover what we're looking at here, boys and girls. To notice something, right? You're being given a note or a placard. You're noticing something is like information. It's once you go into information, you're going into knowledge, tree of knowledge. You're taking possession, right? So, in other words, you are, as soon as you have taken possession and you're in knowledge, you go into an accord with this document. You receive this document, and now it's concerning you because of facts, circumstances, which is time and place, circumstances, right? You're in possession of knowledge, and you gained it through the study. You gained it through communication, research, instruction, and you learned it through fucking school, right? You learned it. The teachers did a good job on you. You should be very proud of your teachers. They did a good job on you, right? Now you got to pay, right? Because you took the instruction, you believed it, and now, right, it's your privilege. You believe you got rights to fucking travel because you believe there's that you believe that what was it that you've got a privilege. There you go. It's privileged.
Well, brother, let me ask you a question now. Does it matter that right and privilege are two extremely opposite words with opposite definitions? Because a privilege is something a privilege is something allegedly given to you by a government. A right is something that was etched into the founding documents of the country. And so a privilege would be something that would be weird to me, but a right, if the forefathers, had to kill people to get away, and they said, listen, this is how we're going to set it up so no tyranny comes in. We're gonna make sure over here we're gonna call these things rights, no matter what it is. We're just gonna respect a little bit of freedom so that ultimate tyranny never comes in, and the right of free movement without being able to be secure in one's property was one of those things. So a right, to me, it just sounds like you may be conflating right and privilege, or does that even matter if one conflates it?
Okay.
Is there a difference?
Look, if it helps, first of all, let's just bring everything back to terminology, and part of this in investigating this document, and everything's all here, right? So if you start to scrutinise it, you're looking at is there actually a difference between privilege and right? Now, the big problem that most people do have, and I'm not saying, if this is what you believe, that's fine. If anyone is relying on the forefathers, they fucking died for us. They set the pathway for how we live today, and we've got a right to travel. All this kind of stuff, and the Constitution and all that garbage. If we rely on that shit, mate, I'm telling you, you just got to be buried by that shit. The system is only preaching it because the people are believing it, right? The people believe there's a right to travel, and the right to travel is basically, it's a privilege. The right is about a privilege. And if you look it up, it's the same thing in the dictionary. If you want, the right and all that still comes back to the word possession, and what you believe, it comes back to what you believe. So if that's why it's your driving privilege, your right. Again, it's the belief that you're the possessor, and you've relied on your forefathers, but you didn't rely on the Father of the heaven and earth. You're relying on the fodder, the goyim, which are the forefathers, who laid out the foundations according to what most people believe. Most people believe that, without the forefathers, they did all this, they did all that, and thanks to their forefathers, we get to live an amazing life, and we get to defend now what our forefathers have done. I mean, this type of thinking is
no, brother. I think we're past that, because England overtook. I believe what the forefathers were trying to do was create a real system of freedom, but it was undermined by the subversion of England coming back in and making it a crown colony. So now you're right. There is nothing to defend. There's nothing to go back to. There is no system that is to be honored or respected or loved, because it has been completely subverted.
The subversion, if I was to go a little deeper into that, the subversion, right, is only in the minds of man. The subversion is when one believes in such a thing as the England, the crown, the forefathers, the freedoms, that we rely on all these things. Now there's a contest between England and the forefathers and the crown and all this, and there's, they destroyed, they subverted the purity of what the forefathers were trying to do, and now there's a contest, and on and on and on it goes. And I think where we are today, it doesn't fucking matter what you believe. If you start believing shit, you're going to get the bill, and the bill is coming, and it's always coming. When does it ever stop? So that's why there's suspensions of so forth. Now, we haven't even moved, not even half a sentence on this notice, and yet we could spend hours and days and fucking months just fucking going through it. I mean, by just looking at an order or a notice, first of all, it's your eyes are open. Once your eyes are open, you'll be just like God. Is there a scripture that talks of that, brother? As soon as your eyes are open, you're going to be just like God. You're gonna know what is right for wrong and good from bad. You're not gonna know what's evil and what's not evil. You're gonna know all these things, all because you noticed, you notice you're in possession, information, knowledge, right? You're transgressing the agreement of the Father by you interpreting property that don't belong to you. You're going into man's world. Once you go into man's world, right? It's the traditions of man, and when you go into the traditions of man, it's now yours. It's your driving privilege. Why don't you look at the fucking notice, boys? It's spelling it out to you. Don't have some arsehole like me fucking trying to tell you something different. It's right there. What don't you fucking get about it? It's your driving privilege. It's a fucking right. And it goes back to your forefathers. All right? And the fucking crown and all that fucking shit. Even England's in this. You won't even believe where England is. I'll show you where England is. It's fucking all there. Everything's there. It's getting everyone to believe all this fucking shit. It does not stop. Now, the privilege will be suspended. So how can a privilege, right? Now you've got a privilege, right? Now it's suspended. Oh, for fuck's sake, how can a privilege be suspended? That's terrible news. So now your privilege, so if you've got immunity, so which is a privilege, so you've got immunity, right? So there's an immunity, the state of being immune from insusceptible or peculiar disease. So in other words, the disease, right, is the disease is the privilege. Okay, so when you start seeing that this language we use, it's like a virus. It's contamination. So and the contamination is through belief. Once you take this property, and this property is meddling. Once you meddle in this document, you're meddling with the primal forces of nature. And it's all here. How do you know what I'm talking about is any truth to it? Well, let's dive a little bit deeper, right? So the privilege now that you would have immunity from disease, right? This is now saying that we're going to suspend it. So the immunity is now you've got the disease because you've actually in possession of it. Okay, you've now got the disease. You've now got the virus, which is knowledge, information. Okay. And that comes back to now you being the possessor. Okay, Eastern time, February 10, 25, because the driver, because the division, that's good. See, they spell it out. The division, which is the ones that are in possession, are passing possession onto you. And what are you going to do? You're going to take it because you're just a greedy little fucking cunt, right? And greedy little bastards are like swine, pig, goyim, whatever you want to call it. Take the notice. Interpret the notice. Once you interpret the notice, here's your bill. Okay? So you interpret the notice. Let's go into fucking notice again. It just seems to be right in front of us. Now, another word for receive is take possession. If you can't see it, go fucking start unfucking yourself. Look at the dictionary. Everything comes back. Everything comes back to the possessor, all terms, all words. So bring all terms, all words into subjection. Okay. So notice again. You're wide attention. Your eyes have been opened. Okay. You've got. It even spells it out. There's an agreement between you and this document. Okay. So you're in possession. You've taken this notice because there's an accord going on. You've got an accord with this because this notice actually talks to you, right? That's where you need the psych evaluation, all right? So it spells it out here for you, and it talks about the parties, right, to the agreement. You have just contracted to all the parties on this agreement, okay? So you now are in the hands of Legion, okay? Legion is your father. Legion, which is man's world, is your God you kneel and you worship to. That's no big deal. It's just the reality of what you're looking at here. Why don't you start paying attention? When I say you, yes, it may be accusatory, but hey, how does one hammer the fucking question home? How does one start to see what's in front of their eyes that you have failed? Yes, you have failed because you're in possession. Anyone who fails is the possessor. to appear or respond. Now, did you ever recall hearing about answering, responding, making a statement, anything you say? That's all to do with respond. Anyone ever connect the dots there, right, to the following court complaint, right? The complaint is the claim that one is in possession of what? Terminology. Imagine that, boys and girls. Is that all we're dealing with again? Come on, it's got to be more to this. Can't be just fucking possession bullshit. It's got to be more. We need the magic bullet. There must be another way to all this. It can't be. There needs to be like like where we got immunity. Okay, there is a way for immunity when you start to renew the mind, and then it goes here. Okay, now start looking up what's a complaint. Anybody ever discover what's a complaint? Anyone? Well, I'm just yakking on by myself.
I just sent you a message, brother. I had to step away for 3 minutes, but I just got back, brother.
Yeah. All right. So a complaint, what are we looking at? Someone who's discontent, is in pain, censure, lament, grief, fault finding, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how do we deal with a complaint, right?
Mm-hmm.
A plaintiff is someone who's a complainant, okay?
Mm-hmm.
A cause of action. Now there's a cause of action. Again, it is your responsibility. Is anyone actually looking at these letters, or what are we doing? I don't know. Otherwise, I really don't know what we're actually doing. I don't know anyone who wants to actually do this journey. Why? Because you actually, this is how you investigate the system. The system is actually showing you whose system it is, and yet what are we doing about it? We actually get complacent. We go, oh, I don't want to fucking know this shit. Because once you start renewing the mind with these letters, you can actually start speaking face to face to so-called agent or representative or whatever you want to call them. You can actually start to ask the questions. What do you mean by you're responsible? Anyone ever figure out what's responsible? We didn't even go through complaint because, there's so much there. You make a complainant is one who makes a statement. Could it be questions? That's a complainant, right? A burden, pass the burden on, right? It's your responsibility. Anyone ever figure out what's responsibility? Anyone?
No, never.
Fucking hell, boys, you've never looked at responsibility.
Never, brother.
Well, start opening your eyes, boys. I'll tell you what. If you really wanted to change what's going on between the ears, this is where it all starts. And it's not. I don't think anybody really likes to do this. All right, who wants to do it? I don't think I've met anyone who wants to actually study what the so-called system is doing for us. Responsibility is when you're answerable, you're accountable, right? You're the one in power. You're control. You're the manager of the fucking heaven and earth, right? You're now. There's not you now. There you go. The burden of obligation, right?
Something that it is your job or duty to deal with.
Yeah, but then you're now responsible. That's got to do with now you're obligated. You're obligated now because there's an accord between you and this document. Now you're obligated, right, upon one who's responsible. So you're now obligated. You're liable, okay? You're liable because you're going off one's own initiative, right? Does anyone see this? It's one's own initiative. It's, in other words, you're going off on your own understanding. Why don't you look in the scripture? What does it say about relying on one's own understanding? Can someone go look in that scripture up?
Sure.
Get good. This is. I don't know if there's any other callers on this call, but maybe they're just so silent because of what we're unfolding here. But you really want to start connecting the dots, because if you don't connect the dots, it's really a rude awakening as to when you start to discover what kind of world we're living in. It's bloody crazy. Man relying on his own understanding. Yeah.
It says Right here, brother, it says Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understandings.
There you go. What do you think this fucking word is on this fucking document? And I'm going to fucking swear because it's just fucking bullshit, mate. If we don't start fucking looking at those scriptures and applying it in real life, this is showing you. Can you see, boys and girls, one word, responsibility, in the dictionary? Now you go to the scripture. Now, if you're relying on your own understanding, what's the scripture say? Read it out again.
It says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him and he will make your paths straight.
Hallelujah. There you go. So, so if you want to fucking, jump up and down over this, because it's basically spelling it out there in the scripture that if you're going off on your own by taking possession, which is now you're responsible because you've taken it, you've took the offer of the notice, you've eaten from the tree of knowledge because your eyes are now opened. You know the difference between good and evil and right and wrong. It's made you ugly. You're now ugly, and now, right before the Father, it's just spelling it out. Do not rely on one's own understanding. And when you receive this notice, what are you doing? You're relying on your own understanding. You're relying on your own fucking responsibility, with the assumption that you're responsible, right? To obtain, here you go, written verification. Look at that, boys and girls. Verification is you're the fucking title holder. You're relying on your own God. You're the Godhead of your own world, because you've just fucked off the possessor because you know better. You see, this document is straight out of scripture. Can any motherfucker see this? It's straight out of scripture. Why isn't any arsehole out there paying attention? Right? Fucking responsibility. You're leaning on your own understanding, and your paths are crooked. They're crooked, and you need to be coming back on the path by going through the fucking system, which is this, to just show you how crooked one's path has become. Right now, and then you got responsibility. That's a huge one. It's all once you take from the Father, you're out of the fucking. You're out now. You're out. You're on your own. You're gone. Your man is your worship of man and his doctrines and everything about man. You are now subject to man and his world, just by what this document's showing you, and it's straight out of scripture in that one. And I hope you put it up on the so-called call. And verification. Anyone looked up that word verification?
I'll look at it right now.
All right. It's to verify, right? So this, they're using certain terminologies, boys and girls. Why? Because it's straight out of scripture, right? Straight out of scripture. Now, if it's a guidebook, are you going to preach it or are you going to live it? As soon as you fucking think you know shit, right? Are you living it or are you fucking preaching it? Because when you think you know shit, you're answerable, right? You're responding. You're making a statement. You're verifying. You're proving the truth, right? You're proving its truth as by evidence, because it's coming out of that dirty mouth that you believe is yours. You've been interpreted it. That's the evidence. What comes out of the mouth is now evidence, and it is now proven before court, okay? And it all comes back to you being just like God because of the interpretation of the notice, okay? And that's all we're looking at here. The listed court that the complaint has, which is possession. This is all possession. Some arsehole said the other day, "Oh, have you met the possessor?" Well, what's the fuck? Huh?
No, I was just laughing, brother.
Yeah. Someone asked, "Oh, have you met the fucking possessor?" Well, if any arsehole would just pay attention, they're fucking looking at the possessor fucking everywhere. Why don't you open the fucking eyes? Where isn't the possessor? It's fucking in every particle, every word, everything you're doing is fucking everywhere. Are your eyes that fucking blind where you can't fucking see? Right? And the possessor is in fucking all things. Okay? And when you take from the possessor, here comes the money order, right? Or here comes the fucking anvil from the sky. They're going to drop on your head. Okay? So as attachments, look at the word attachments, right? These are all things to be looked at and to verify. It's basically it comes back to proof and evidence that comes out of that disgraceful pie hole that one believes is theirs. Okay, and that's now verified. So once you speak it out of that mouth, right? You've already answered, and in court, the judges go, answer my papers, answer these papers because you believe you're God. You are the possessor. And because you don't answer the papers, they throw you in contempt into the jail because you didn't answer the papers because you've made an ample amount of claims before the court. And now you need to spend some more time in the box to think about who you think you are, you little fucking goyim. Now, so verification, very important term. And then they keep going, suspension, your privilege. See, they've got to keep that fucking belief going. Your privilege. Whenever you hear your, why don't you ask the question, what do you mean by your? And then it supersedes the terminology of privilege. What do you know about privilege? You see, when you ask the possessive term, now privilege doesn't even exist. What fucking privilege? You give it credence. One gives, you enliven a word, whether it's claimant, whether it's where's the claimant and all that shit, you enliven the dead. You provide an evidence, right, of terminology, of knowledge. You're in possession of fucking property. And if you're speaking to an agent about England, the crown, the forefathers and freedom and fucking, subverting the court of fucking law and the system, and you're talking this language, talking this way, well, we can do business with this fella. That's right. What else?
Well, Daniel, the only reason I bring any of it up, okay, is because I was led to believe that these motherfuckers were supposed to be public servants. Instead of telling us what to do, I was led to believe that they are supposed to be the inferiors of the people doing our errands and our bidding for us instead of terrorizing the people for revenue gathering. That's what I was led to believe. So somewhere it seems like there's a flip in the system. See, it sounds like there was a perfect system where they were servants like they were supposed to be. So that's the only reason I bring it up is because, like, how did the flip? There's all these.
Okay. Good question. Okay. Now, many years ago in this part of the world, there was a lot more freedom. Now, when it changed, when did things start changing? Australia used to be actually quite a beautiful country. Probably even 10 years ago, it was not so bad. Maybe what actually happened? It's the people became much more educated, much more programmed. Another word for education is a programming. And what actually happens, the more an individual is programmed, the more claims of the more people voting, there's more people submitting complaints into the system. So every time you make a complaint, right, the system is updating itself. So as soon as you make a complaint, the freedoms that we once allegedly enjoyed no longer apply because you're with these. I can tell you now, there used to be many festivals in this part of the world where lots of people from around the world used to come to Australia, and there were a lot of festivals. Now, because of all the claims that the people are making, guess what? Probably a good 70% of festivals that once upon a time were, not saying there's no festivals in this country, but they're all regulated. A lot of festivals now are all regulated. They're, you have to, sign in for this, and you have to, all that kind of bullshit. It's all regulated now. Whereas in the past, because of injury, harm, and loss, no one was able to be accountable for one another. So the government's got to come in and go, you cunts, you goyim, you aren't able to look after one another, so we're going to look after your sorry ass, and we're going to put a bill and a tax to it, right? So that's where things change.
But brother, how can they do that when they're the ones who introduced the programming that made the things changed?
Well, they can introduce whatever they want. It's what the people do. It's the wicked witch with the apple, and you need to look at that you never do business with the government. Number one, if the system is so huge now, when I say never do business with the government, that doesn't mean when it comes to help you don't go and apply for blah blah this and this. It's knowing how to navigate the system, and yeah, in other words, it's not what you do in registration or in pen, or you can even write things down, you can text things down into the government. The only thing that really comes back to anything that one is doing is it comes back to what comes out of that mouth. That's it. So you can talk, yes, amongst your brothers, you can talk forefathers, freedoms, fucking bidding, terrorising the fucking, these bastards, they're terrorising, and, they were inferior, we were inferior, and all this kind of language. But it all boils back to when they're knocking on your door or the car window, and they're starting to fucking give you the questions. That's when you go into question mode, and doesn't matter what you do in any walks of life as far as use the system. Yeah, good, but don't do business with them when you're in there. How can I put it? When you're going around and they stop you for no reason or whatever, then that's when you go into the question mode. Okay, that's all I'm saying. So, once upon a time, maybe I remember back in the day, my dad, the dad told me, I'll rephrase, the father told me once when he came to Australia, he beat up a few guys that were calling him, names because he was the first immigrant into this country, and he beat the living daylights out of 3 or 4 men. Now, back in those days, the copper came and knocked on his door the next day, and he says, "Hey, listen, in this country, you can't beat up people like you did. You beat them to a pulp. I know they were not very nice to you and blah, 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 but there's other ways of going about these things." And, and he said, "Look, you better find Jesus or some kind of a God to worship, so that might help with your anger issues." And the next day, I think the Jehovah's Witnesses knocked on his door, and he's been a JW for the next 60 years. So
wow.
it might have saved him, but in those days it was different. Things change, bro, and the more educated the system around you becomes, the worse the people become. And if you cannot see that, well, then you're going to
I can see it, but it just looks like an intentional perversion, brother. That's all.
Yeah, okay, all right, but when you start, I guess all I'm trying to say is focus on one thing rather than who's bidding and doing the terrorising. Focus on one thing. Whose system is this predominantly? Ultimately, when we always have the possessor as in the mind that we acknowledge the possessor of all things, things start changing. I don't know how to put it. It's things start changing around you. I've found that in this part of the world, and I'll maybe do it on another call. But if I said to you how things are changing in this part of the world because of the things that I've done, allegedly, when the way I've communicated to the unknown forces, they've been updated, and they leave me alone in a big way, and it's quite profound. It's quite incredible. I'm not saying I want to be left alone and so forth, but they know that he doesn't buy into the bidding processes of whether the forefathers or the agents, or they used to, they were, an inferior to the people. They worked for the people and so forth. Once you start going into that mentality, it takes you off the path. And the path is, if anyone is interested, is like that song, man wants the kingdom, but they don't want the maker or the father in it. They say, fuck you. I don't want you in it. We want you out. And this is our fucking world. This is our fucking planet. And you, the father, can get the fuck out of here. That's what man does not want, is the father. He'll do whatever it takes to fuck the almighty possessor out of the fucking way. And when you start to see what the reality of this is, it's like the planet is a big vice, and the vice is between the ears, and it fucking gets tightening every single year. The vice is turning and gets tighter and tighter, and it all happens between the ears of man. That's the so-called Armageddon. Yeah.
Well, brother, I got a verse I found when I was looking for the possession verses earlier, and I if it's okay, I'd just like to run it by you.
Please.
Deuteronomy 1:21 says, "See, the Lord your God has placed the land before you. Go up and take possession of it, as the Lord, the God of your fathers, has told you. Do not be afraid or discouraged."
Yep. Yep.
Seems like he's commanding to take possession as the Lord takes possession, right? I mean, what is going on there?
So look at the scripture, right, as an offer. Then you got to go back to the scripture. I think it's 14, Genesis 14, 20, 22 or something. Can you look at that one?
Yep.
Tell me what you see.
It says, "And Adam said to the king of Sodom," is that? Oh yeah, I see. I have lift up mine hand unto the Lord, the Most High God, the possessor of the heaven and earth.
Good. There you go. Now, you look at that scripture, and then you look at the other scripture. Tell me the difference.
It said the Lord is the possessor in the one you pointed out, and in this one it says to take possession as the Lord.
There you go. Now, you become the Lord once you take possession from the Lord. You become the possessor. That's why if you look at these notices, it's showing you that you are the possessor, because it is your responsibility. You are now the possessor. Can anyone see this?
Mm-hmm.
This is the mind fuck. That scripture, those two should go hand in hand, because those two, if you can put them together, because those two show you, on one hand, right, you want the kingdom, but you don't want the Father in it. So go and take possession of all the lands, right? Right? That means you want a king. So now you want a king. Now your forefathers apply. Now there's the battleground between England and the freedom and the crown. Now there's the centurions or the cops. They were once inferior. Now they do the bidding and they do all the terrorizing, and all this kind of stuff goes along. Those scriptures are showing you. If you wanted to be Batman, you could say, "Oh, it's your choice." What an arsehole, you know. It's your choice on what you do. Well, if it be your choice, do you really want to go out and take possession? And is there a consequence to that? if there's a consequence to that, why aren't we paying attention and looking at those scriptures as a great example, right? If there is one possessor and one interpreter of the heaven and earth, who am I fucking here to take the property of the possessor? And this is never going to change, brother. From the dawn of time, the possessor, these laws are set in fucking bedrock foundation for eternity. You think they're going to change? They're never going to change. It even says in the scripture, this, you know, if you can find the scripture about these laws have been written for the dawn of time, and they ain't going to ever change. They're going to be always the same. And the same is basically showing you that the possessor is the possessor of the heaven and earth. And if you look at the Genesis 14, I think it starts off at about 19 or something, goes to 22 or something, and it's all about the possessor. So
can you say that again?
I think it's Genesis 14. I think it's like 18 or 19 to 23 or something, or 22. That's where all that talks about. You just focus on who's the possessor. Who's the possessor of the heaven and earth? And that's it. If there's one possessor of the heaven and earth, it's not going to be advertised everywhere else. That's the possessor. And the possessor is where all terms and words funnel into and comes out to the word. You know, whose fucking property is it? The fucking possessor. And if you want to take the property of the possessor, yeah, go out and take. It's a statement. It's an order. Go out and take it. Good. Now it's your responsibility, right? But if you're doing it with agreement with one another and saying, hey, if we use it, if we're going to enjoy this, then where there are two or more who are there in the midst I am, because there's an agreement, right? But you can't agree with the unknown force. And that's why the unknown force, the X factor, the anomaly, is always there to do the checks and the balances as to what comes out of the pie hole of man. See, again here on this document, it's saying to you, it says verification, right, of satisfaction will be accepted. Another word, what's another word for accepted, boys and girls?
Received. Inserted.
What's another word for received?
Gotten. Have.
Yeah, what's another word for all of that?
Gained.
Yeah, what's another word for all of that? Go back to the first scripture, what you wrote, what you read out about possession. What did it say?
Take possession. As.
Stop right there.
Take.
Put that in your fucking brain hole and go, shit, take. You telling me take is accepted? The judge is always talking about, do you accept the charges? Do you take the charges from the possessor of the heaven and earth? Do you take the terms? Do you take possession of the possessor's property? Once you go, yes, I accept that, judge goes, my hands are tied. My hands are tied now because basically you've verified out of that dirty, disgraceful mouth that you have taken the property from the possessor of the heaven and earth. You've accepted it as being now the possessor. You now have become the possessor, and now there's now there's a consequence. You need to go before the court, and the judge will decide who is the real possessor. You are not. You never made man. You never made that table. You never made anything in front of you. All right. If you can verify that you are God, well, let's see. Let's see if you can prove your claims. Right now, in this document, it's all what you've mentioned. It's receipt, right? Accepted, and it's accepted there several times. These are huge words to fucking put in groups of taken, received, and on it goes, right? This is, once you start listening to these words, you start to realise, holy moly, This is what's going on in court. This is what's going on everywhere around us. Is take it, just take it. All you got to do is take it, and you know, we can do a deal with you. Once you take, receive, right? You agree, you consent, you're acceding to, you're responding, you're answering. These are all the same things. Put them all in the same bucket, the same fucking thing. You're an undertaker. You're responsible, and if you're responsible, you're liable. You're the possessor because you've received it. Fuck, mate. Where else do you want to go with this? You acknowledge you're the God all fucking mighty, right? Just because of this fucking receive. Does anyone see this shit? It's on this document, and it's all in line with the scripture. Did anyone see it? I must be talking to myself. Fuck, man. And then verification. How many times has it got verification in this document? 3 or 4, maybe more. And then received. It must be received, right? It's fucking everywhere. Your driving privilege. I'm still going through it. You boys probably gone back to sleep and going, fuck, I'm not listening to this fucking jerk off. There's too much in this letter. This letter actually, or this notice, actually makes people drowsy. It actually makes people like, I don't know if anyone's on this call, but actually I don't know. If I said I've spoken to many people when they receive like a notice like this and they go through it, they go to sleep. It's inertia. They pass out because they can't actually deal with it. It's these notices. It's an intoxication when you start to investigate, scrutinize, and you start to when you start to examine these notices, you actually need a bucket next to you so you can vomit up into it, and that's what's going on in most individuals when they start to do this kind of investigative type of you could call it work, because it actually reveals so much on what's going on inside the individual. Yeah. And then it even says here, the scope of the hearing is whether the person whose license is suspended is the same person to whom the citation were issued. Yeah. This is to do with this is to do with let's have a look here. So the scope. So you want to what is this scope business, right? The scope. Let's look at what he's talking about. Scope. Come on, mother fungal. Here you go. Yeah, the extent, range, view, outlook. Okay, so the outlook and length, aim. It's in other words, it's a scope is another sort of word for purpose or reason. The reason. See, scope is another word for. These are words you can put in categories. Like scope, you could put it in a category of purpose, means, grounds, warranted. There's many words that once you see, so the grounds, the scope of the hearing, the reason of the hearing is whether the person, which is the claimant, whether the respondent, or the person whose license is suspended, in other words, the one who answers to it, right, who answers to the license, right, being suspended, is the same person to whom the citation was issued. And we're going to verify that in court. And then we ask that you fill that brain with more information by contacting regarding the request for hearing. Please see the details below and contact us for further information, because you now know your masters, and we are your masters, and we will extract the sap out of you, which is the knowledge, and there will be payment made. This notice does not affect any other suspensions, disqualifications, or revocation currently in effect or that will take effect in the future. So there's a lot of great words there: suspension, disqualifications, revocations. You can just type them all in. Fucking what is this? Revocation, right? In the effect, right? So now, once you go into the belief of all of the notice, see, it starts off with the notice, boys and girls. The notice is now your eyes are open, and once they are open, you know the difference between, right and wrong, withdrawal or not to be withdrawal. So this is all terminology, revocation, revoking, withdrawal. It's all contract. This is all agreement, suspension. This is qualification, revocations. That's all to do with contract or you're making an agreement, an accord that one has with their thinking and this document. So the thinking and this document, that's an accord. That's called a meeting of the minds. So there's a meeting of the minds with one's thinking and the document that's before you. Can anyone see that? Or is that too much of a head fuck?
Can you break down just very quickly which part you're saying is the self-agreement?
I'm just showing you right now. Soon as this notice, right? Once you acknowledge, and once you see this notice, right, then automatically there is an accord with the thinking that's going on inside the mind of a man, the thinking that's going on inside the mind of a man. I'm breaking it down. There is thinking that you know something about this notice, and as soon as you know something about this notice, there is now an accord, an agreement between you and your thinking and this document in front of you. Gotcha. Right? This document in front of you is now, you've got an accord, you've got an agreement, right, between this wooden idol and your thinking. So your thinking and this wooden idol are in agreement. And that's why now you're obligated and you're contracting with it, right? Because you've got an agreement. This is a bit of a head fuck thinking. Anyone agree with that?
Mm-hmm.
Totally. Right? It's a total head fuck of a way of thinking, but this is the work that one needs to be doing. Is as soon as you acknowledge what this notice is, then it acknowledges you. And now it's like, how can this notice acknowledge me? Well, there's an accord that's going on with your thinking, and that's the violation. It's all down there. You got the violation, and the violation is the transgression. Has anyone ever looked into what a violation is? Anyone?
Anyone?
Any fucking one. A violation.
I'm sure Toto has.
Oh, for fuck, yeah, good. I hope he's on the fucking call. So a violation, again, it still comes back to, right? Let's have a look. What is it? Violation. See, a violation, right? That's all to do, again, with the transgression, the sin that you've taken possession of information, knowledge. In other words, the notice. You've taken property that doesn't belong to you, right? You're in violation. It's an infringement, a transgression. It's a breach. It's a misdemeanor. What do you call them? What do your government calls them over there? A delinquent. You're a fucking delinquent, right? Because you're fucking, it says here sexual molestation. You're fucking raping yourself by taking property that doesn't fucking belong to you. You've got to be raped now. Your brain is going to be raped, and you're going to be sodomized. How does all that sound? Does it sound encouraging?
I love the system, bro. That's cool.
Yeah, as long as you don't mind being sodomized when you make claims, then it's going to be working for you, boys and girls.
There you
go. And sodomy is one wonderful thing when you love being possessed. It's okay. You don't always need the soap when you bend over. It's all good. So let's go to the second piece of paper. There you go. Look at this, man. This just doesn't stop. Notice. There you go. Boys, start looking really here. Now this is huge. Now, look at this. We've just gone through half or two pieces of paper. I mean, I could spend a lot more time on it, but I won't. As soon as you take possession of the property, there's a chase that begins. Okay, has anyone ever seen cartoons in back in the day when either Bugs Bunny or Roadrunner, soon as something was taken, there was a chase? Have you noticed a lot of the cartoons were all about the chase?
Right. Yes, for sure.
So the government, you need to see it. You need to see the government's role is to basically dangle the carrot or the offer before you, and to see what the goyim are doing. And the goyim, they only do one thing, which is to take, right? So once they take, now they're in pursuant. Now there's an automatically universal forces that comes running or chasing after you, okay? Because you're going to answer to you, and it's pursuant. Pursuant is the chase. And if you want to look up what is pursuant, these are all terms that they use in this part of the world too, big boy. Pursuant, right? Pursuant. It all comes back to you've taken now property that it doesn't belong to you, and now the chase begins until we can verify before the court, whether you're in possession of property that don't belong to you. Okay, so stop meddling in these affairs, right? When are we going to stop fucking? When do we start learning to stop fucking meddling? This is not one's property to be meddling in, right? So to pursue is another word for chase. Okay, so the chase, and the chase is the pursuant is the pursuant is the chasing the agreement that you have with that document. You've got an agreement with this document, and that document is your wooden idol. That document is your God that you kneel before and you worship. This is your document, okay? Because you've identified with the document. You've noticed the document. You've eaten from the fruits of the tree of knowledge. And now there's pursuant. Now there is agreement and accord with that document and your thinking. So that's the meeting of the minds that one has now with their thinking and the document, right? Because the thinking is the assumptions that you're making without considering the possessor of the heaven and earth. You've taken before you've considered. You've taken before considering the option, the offer. And to consider is not about taking. Consider is another word to question, to ponder, to seek out the unknown factor, and to seek it out. Is it only through question? Come as a child. Come as a child. Does that mean a child is riddled with possession and speaks the demon out of the mouth? And we're going to look at that video in a minute. That I may have sent a while back about summoning, right? And this is the summoning is all about the hearing. The request that you've taken possession for a hearing may be made because you're the maker in writing in 10 days after the copy suspended the sole purpose or reason of this hearing, blah, blah, the evidence that he or she is not the person named in the notice of suspension, the request. So there's a lot of stuff even in there, but it doesn't really sort of matter. So the commissioner will assess. So the commissioner is the man upstairs, okay? He's the commissioner. The commissioner is you could call it, the state is like the possessor, and they look after all the goyim, all the rats that are let loose out there in the world, that make complaints and so forth. That's the goyim, the rats. You could call a rat a Jew. A Jew is another word for owner. Okay, so that's the goyim. So the commissioner, he deals with possession. and the possessor. There you go. Fails to have, commission order rescinded, prescribed herein. That's all possession, 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 possession. And there you go. The name, address, are you the person, blah, blah. Make a statement. Yes, now we can do business. I'm not going to go into any more of that. I think we've done enough of it. But can anyone see the amount that's involved just in that one document? Anyone can, was this all for nothing, or did we actually learn something from that?
No, it sure seems like there's a lot of things that deal specifically with what you've been talking about. Possession. I mean, for one, man, it's laced with possessive terms.
Yeah, and the thing is, most people I'm yet to meet anyone on the fucking planet who's going to investigate. Now, this is the investigation on the state or the IRS or whoever you want to call it. These division, what do you call them? The divisional state of West Virginia, or whoever you want to call it. These are all what was I going to say? These are all wonderful examples of division and how man has divided himself from the whole by going and taking from this. Go take. In other words, go believe. And once you go and believe, now here comes the bills and the consequences and everything thereafter. Yeah? Can you handle the bitch? That's the question.
So how would you respond then to this letter if this were sent to you? Because you said you don't really go to court for matters so small as this, right? So how would you respond?
Oh, well, to me, I'd definitely put it in the same envelope that it came to, and I'd just go director. If I was looking at this one, I would go director driver services. Let me have a look. Hang on a second. Name driver. See, it doesn't have any, because it doesn't have any signature or anything like that. I would actually just go. I'd just go, look, sometimes I would send, because they will send you 100 things at once. I would just look, most people get very upset when the system keeps sending things back to you.
Yeah.
The system is trying to show you how to come out of the harlot, how to come out of the beast. But I don't know if I've ever met anyone who wants to come out of the demon. We love it there too much. We just love it. We just love we love it. Like if I had breasts, we'd be just rubbing ourselves, with this knowledge. Like we're glutton, we're drunk on this, and we love it so much that I find it's like a sickness. It's like a vomit, and it's one of the the 7 sins of gluttony and so forth. It's really. This notices they hit every sin inside or transgression inside the mind of man, and it starts off with the feeling. Then the feeling is when you receive this notice. Well, how do you feel about it? Oh, the bastard! Straight away we go into blame. Or straight away they're bidding or they're terrorising me, or we go into some kind of believing that there is such a thing as a they and them. So I would go straight away, is the note from someone? Because what's up the top there, they said order of suspension notice. I always reduce the notice to a mere note. It's when the judge used to talk, he never talked about notice because it's implying there's more to it. Whereas a note is plain simple. It's like your teacher, Johnny boy isn't coming to school today. It's just a note. He should, when he's well, he'll come and join you again. So we bring everything back to the simple language of the note. Is the note from someone? Regards. That's it.
Now that does sound like, can I speak to the claimant?
Yes, but you're not bringing up claimant or any of that arsehole terminology. You're bringing up someone. It's the only thing that you can actually use, because even in court, it demonstrates that you're looking. If there's one thing you're looking for, it says there's two things in the scripture that you have a love for. It's you have a love for one another, right? So you're asking for, is it from someone? And that's you're asking for one another. You're not asking for you're not asking to engage in the demons of allegiance, right? You're asking for someone. Here's the note from someone.
Is it like when you accept it, you refer to it as a notice? You're accepting their like basic jurisdiction or their terminology or their technology.
That's right. You're going into now obligation.
You acknowledge the notice, right?
You acknowledge. That's right. And once you acknowledge it, it acknowledges you.
Nice.
And then you suddenly you don't actually understand, because this stuff. If I was to share with you, it took many years to come to this head fuck of a 101. And that's why it used to shit me when I used to hear this fucking meeting of the minds with the Batman rubbish. And it was always about the meeting of the minds with these people. No, you have a meeting of the minds, right? It's with your thinking, the way you're thinking, which is the assumptions that you're making, because you're the maker. It's the assumption of the thinking. So there's a meeting of the minds with your thinking and the document before you. That is the meeting of the minds, which is psych evaluation material stuff. So you're thinking, which is interpreting the assumptions, and from that thinking, you've made an accord with the document before you. Whether you like it or not, that's what's going on. And that's what's very hard to escape from when you're in court, because you've somehow it's joined to you, because you've identified with the notice in some way because of what came out of the mouth, and you've acknowledged it. How? By what's come out of your mouth, because you believe it's your mouth. And it's that simple. It's so simple, yet it's mind fucking bending and perplexing. How can this be possible? How can there be two things going on? One is my thinking, because I've taken this thinking to be my own, and now there is these documents that are coming in, and you're making a determination on understanding of your own in the interpretation of these documents, and therefore the automatic accord agreement is happening in a split of seconds, because we've sent the Father on its way. We don't want the Father in the kingdom. We told the Father to piss off because I'm the fucking possessor. So now that's the game that's in town, boys and girls. It's probably the biggest head fuck you'll come along, but I do hope that if this call is recorded, maybe you can put it up on the YouTube, and some arsehole out there might even listen to it.
Yeah, it is recorded. It will be put up, and some asshole might listen. Yeah.
So I wanted to get you boys to listen to. Can you bring that one up that I sent to you? It was a little bit back. Hang on. Hang on a second. Where is it? It was about. It was a really, really good one. Hang on a second. Where are we?
What was it about, brother?
I went to see the movies about a week ago, and I think I sent it. It was a little YouTube. It was all about. It was about the summoning. It was about the demon. I think it was fucking absolutely awesome. Hang on a second. Hang on. Here you go. Nosferatu. Yeah. Let's play that. Can you? I'll just play that. I'm going to just. Could you play it? Because I don't know. I'm unable to. Hang on. Let me see if I can join this call. No, see, I've got to do something with this ridiculous thing. But Nosferatu, and I'll see if I can. I might see if I can play it. Problems opening this link. Please try again later. I need to get some help in fixing. That's why I'm doing everything on the mobile at the moment, so I can fix this pretty soon. But in the Nosferatu clip, it's basically showing you. Basically, it's showing it come to me. Now that notice is all about the hearing. Can you boys see the hearing in that notice? It's talking about the hearing my call, right? Once you start connecting this hearing and court, to the demon within that whispers to one to accept the offer, that's when you just go, fuck, is this what's going on? This is fucking mind-blowing, right? And that's why I say imagine every thought, every term or word uttered out of the mouth of man. Is it the property of the possessor, the one interpreter of the heaven and earth? Once one takes this property, without asking or considering the unknown factor or the forces behind it, is there a consequence to taking without asking? Right? And then one arsehole wrote there, where did one come up with that? And then I go, well, did one come up with it, or is it all around one? To listen to all the offers within and outside oneself. Bring all words, terms in subjection to the possessor. Is it only through question does one trim back the garden between the ears? Anyway, imagine that.
Imagine, brother. Did you happen to hear that Money Mike clip?
Help me out, please.
Okay. So the last call we had, Money Mike was on it, and he had a question, but he only brought it up after you left, and he recorded it, and I sent it to you. It was like a 2-minute clip or minute clip. It was just him bringing up a question about something you had said about court going versus not going.
Can you just bring it to me? I've just got to lean up, grab something for a second. Just put it on there, and I'll go through it.
Right on. Oh, there it is.
All right, did you bring it up?
Did
you bring it up?
Yes, I brought it up right here. You want me to see if I can you hear it if I play it like this, or is it too low?
No, go for it.
Can you hear that or no?
No, I can't. But can you just kind of go through it with me?
Okay, sure. Yeah.
If you don't mind.
So Money Mike said it seemed like it was staring, the solution was staring us in the face the whole time. He said that he thinks the solution is just to not go to court at all. And I think you had said something to that effect one time about small matters.
Yeah.
So I think he was just looking for some elaboration on that. But I can finish the clip if you want me to make sure.
But look. First of all, you don't just, so the first thing is always, it comes back to the notice. So you don't just go to court without the notices first. So if one is looking to get out of something, is there any possibility of one actually doing what we just did today on today's call? Very, very little. Because if you're looking to get out of something and you're looking for the magic pill where, oh, they're just going to leave me alone, or now, you know, this guy, he did this, and now they don't touch him. They just go, what's his name? And then they go to the car and they go, oh, yeah, leave him alone, and off he goes. If that's your focus, to be left alone, then you're not actually going to you know, or maybe I should rephrase it. Is one ever going to come to that place of you know, returning to the father in respect to the, like the prodigal son, where you start to acknowledge and consider the possessor? Everyone's acknowledging the notices and everything else around them, and all they want to do, if I was led to believe anything, was that one is always looking for an out, a way out, and until we start to realise, fucking what way out, hey, way in, way out. What do you know about either? And you start investigating and doing what we did today. I don't know if today was any example of how to live in this world. And first of all, whether you go to court or you don't go to court, it's irrelevant. The court is happening around us all the time. The court is either you think you know what you're talking about, and there is an accord between your thinking and either some document before you, right? So that's a meeting of the minds. You've got a document, you've got an accord and agreement with the wooden idol, and then you go to court, and then you start speaking. You know, demonic possession comes straight out of your mouth. So if you're looking to renew the mind, then one will start to realise there's an how can I put it, an engineering that is in place with these letters, and the structure of these letters are imperfection. It's all relates back to Scripture, and yes, answering this, if I was to answer the question of one of the brothers there, if you want to you know, do what we did today, then you'd be studying the notices, and if you have to go to court, then use it as a wonderful learning opportunity to learn to listen to the judge and ask the on-point questions in court, and start to find that love on the heart of the love that's actually of the Father. And if we don't have that in us, then then go fucking do whatever you want, because the way the world's going, and the you know, and the hearts of man, what's going on? It ain't fucking looking good. It ain't looking good, mate. If that's our focus, because quite frankly, I think if anything, today's example on this so-called call and what we did and what we went through, that's just a tiny snippet of the chasm of how deep and down the rabbit warren, you know, one has possibly gone. If we do not start doing this process, and I'll even, if I was to share with you, when I first come across this in doing it this way, I'm not joking, I was very resistant to it and adverse to it. I was going, fuck, I'm not going to look at that. I couldn't look at the letter or the notice. I literally couldn't even look at it. I was unable to look at it. It's like the demon inside me said, fucking don't you dare look at this piece of paper. Don't you dare look at that document from the state. And yet I knew it was the one thing I needed to look at, because it would reveal the demon inside me. And if we cannot do that, then just keep worshipping what you're doing, and maybe these calls can fucking stop, and maybe everyone just goes back to listening to all the other fucking gurus and bullshit of the world, and who knows what's going to fucking happen in what will unfold. But if there's a message, that there's a way to be lived, and there's a way to seek out the possessor, and you saw it, if it's true today, through examples, where isn't possession? It's fucking everywhere. Wow. Is that a good start? And what are we doing? Am I trying to get out of shit? Or am I gonna fucking consider things that I've never maybe considered before?
Well, brother,
what?
Can I ask you a question? Is there any difference in between wanting to be left alone and trying to get out of something?
No. Is there a difference? Well, you want to be left alone. That's resistance. Getting out of something, it's resistance. What else is it?
Why is it resistance to want to be left alone? Because it's unnatural?
No, because guess what? Left alone, you should be bloody counting your fucking lucky stars that someone's fucking at least interested in you. Right?
Yeah, I hear you. Left alone could mean isolation, right?
We're so fucking scared of someone coming to us. It means you're scared of man. Who are you? Lord want to be left alone. It sounds like a coward, someone who's afraid, someone who doesn't want to deal with their fucking offers. They know that they're greedy. They've taken possession, right? I want to be left alone, right? You're speaking from a program. I want to be left alone, right? You're speaking from, and you're acting as if, someone has done something to you. And you don't want to deal with those things that are going to keep coming up until you fucking consider it. Are we ever going to, do we want to, are we going to start to investigate these programs of trying to get out of something, or I just want to be left alone? I'm sure there's 100 or even thousands of questions that fucking, come to those statements, and that's the renewing of the mind. Start to investigate all of that.
So are you saying that we should welcome a so-called challenge of possession or challenge of belief at any time, and there's no need to be left alone because one's mind state should shine through? Is that what you're saying? That there's no possession?
Well, am I saying anything other than listening to the very one that's before you? Right. And the very one that's before you, that's all you're listening for is the word. You're not listening to that fucking asshole, whatever, little voice within. What do you know about little voice within? Unless, it said, find that scripture actually, which is, I'd love anyone to find a scripture where it says, listen to the little voice within. There is no scripture that says, listen to the little voice within, right? There's only one scripture that says, listen for the word, listen with the ears, because you've already been made in perfection. What do you need to go and listen to within? What does it say about listening to within? I'm yet to find, if someone can find me a scripture that preaches listening to the little voice within, right? Then I'll go, okay, well, let's have a look at it, right? But until then, it's the only thing we're doing is with the two ears is listening to what is going on in front of us, right? And then when you're asking for the claimant, you're just another asshole. You are the claimant. You are the claimant. You bring up claimant, now we're dealing with the claimant. Okay? Simple as that.
I am trying to find a verse that has to do with the voice within, and I am And I'm,
You know,
and I'm happy.
it almost sounds demonic, you know?
It is. When you hear someone talk about listen to the voice within, it's not talking in the scripture. It never talks about listen to the little voice within. There is no scripture that talks about go and listen to the little voice within, right? It's preposterous. It's the most absurd claim one can possibly.
You know, that's
ask.
actually what happens to a schizophrenic.
That's right. You need a padded cell, and to be very well looked after. That's what that is looking at. A little voice. I always, whatever I do, boys, if it's possible, always first look at what does the Bible speak about love, right? What does the Bible speak about? All different things, and then you feel it on the heart, but then you feel it. There's a feeling, right? It doesn't say that you don't scrutinise. It says even in Scripture to question all things. So if there was such a thing as a little voice, the little voice is you could call it the mechanism of scrutinising, is you to put into subjection. What do you think the Father? What do you think that question is? Or in the Scripture says, did you find that Scripture about subjection? Bring all. Oh, there you go. There you go. Now, thank you. Now, this Scripture is monumental. But I keep under my body, and I see that as the Father, my body, which is the possessor, and bring it into subjection. So, if the body is the possessors, right, bring all things into subjection. Now, subjection is the little voice, if you want. You can call that the subjection. So, first of all, it starts with the ears. As soon as you hear something, you bring it to the Father. In other words, lest is be warned that by any means, in other words, by means, grounds, reason, when I, which is the Father, I, the possessor, preach to others, I myself should be cast away. In other words, when you actually are the possessor, because when I'm now the possessor and I'm preaching to others, right, I myself should be cast away. Why? Because of the could it be questions. It's all in there. It's could it be, should, would, could, right? As soon as you start preaching, then you'll be cast into the fires as a delinquent. Okay? It's all in the Scripture. And once you start seeing Scripture all from the perspective from the possessor, then it all makes sense. But when you're looking at it from a perspective of meaning and one's own interpretation and understanding, you go completely bamboozle mental house. You go on it's a complete disaster. And so I read it like this: bring all terms, bring it, right? Bring it into subjection. There's another scripture there from the King James, I reckon. It says it in a bit more detail. But this one particularly, I'm just going, it says, be warned that by any means, that if anyone, right, takes possession by making the statement I have preached on suggestive language such as, could it be to others? So you're starting to preach to others, right? I myself, in other words, the one who's preaching, could be cast away. So that's a very good scripture. And these are warnings, right? They're warnings. Lest is a warning. Lest is anything you say or do can or said be done used against you. Anything you say or do may be used against you, right? That's what that means, right? If you don't bring these terms into subjection to the possessor, right, then you're going to think it, and if you don't think it, right, once you start thinking something, you're going to start preaching it. That's why by thinking it and inking it, you're bringing it into subjection, because you're starting to consider the unknown factor, right? The absentee landlord, and ask yourself, is he absent or is he everywhere? And if you start to consider these terms and words, that's where you're bringing these terms into subjection, because you're handing it back. You're not taking possession of these things for yourself. You're handing it. You're passing things. You're always passing things on, rather than keeping them to your greedy self. The little greedy little demon wants everything for itself, and that's why I want you to look at that. I want you to look at that Nosferatu trailer. In who was speaking. I'm going to try and play it. Hang on. Oh shit! Hang on. I might have to go to another link. Fuck. Hang on a second.
I just posted it back in the chat. I'm unsure if that's helpful, but
yeah, right. Let me see if I can play it.
Wouldn't you have to accept being you if anything you say will be used against you? I mean, that's not.
Well, that's just an offer. You need to see everything as an offer. Anything you say.
Yeah, but who is you is what I'm saying. You know.
Yeah. Whoa. Okay, so if I said to you, the man before me went and read that straight out to me. Anything you say can and will be used against you. I considered it, and there's three men with guns, three fellas with guns, and they're about to jump me. Now I asked this question: why are you telling me that? And they walked backwards. Now you ask yourself, why would they do that? Unless you experience these questions, in other words, you've got first-hand experience in asking questions, who will ever know the bullshit of these questions? Unless you're doing it, unless you're living it, unless you're doing it, how will you ever know?
is that because there was less understanding demonstrated?
Yeah, you're coming as a child. Like, what do you know about saying something? What do you know about it? What do you know about what to be said? Anything you say or do? What do you know about any of that fucking shit? Come as a child. Why are you telling me that?
Yeah.
Nice.
Now they're fucked.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah, or why are you telling me that? I'm gonna play this. Listen to this Nosferatu. You got to watch this, boys. It's fucking brilliant.
Cool.
Hang on. Come to me. Oh, you got to watch it. I love it. I love it. Hang on. Listen to this. This is Nosferatu. Come to me. She's saying, come to me. Summon me. Come to me. Hear my call, my possession. Come to me. There you go. The demons possessed her. Straight away, it's there, boys and girls. Oh, I love these fucking movies. They're the best. Don't you love movies? Absolutely fantastic. Oh, the movies are fantastic. If only you boys can just see what that's all about. That's all in the notices. It's everywhere. This is the accord that she's got, but this is the accord with her thinking and the fucking demon that's going on in the mind. Is it so hard to see what's happening inside the mind? You may need to listen to just the first 10 seconds snip, probably 10,000 times, and you might start going, holy shit, what's going on here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we can't grasp the demon. That's why I put Nosferatu there, because this is all the notices. She's in possession. She's calling out the beast, and the beast arrives. Yeah, so she's getting what she asked for. So you can't be upset when you receive a bill or you receive anything that happens to you, even if your ass has been confiscated and everything's been happening to you, because you're calling it out. You're actually speaking to a demon, and you've taken all this for yourself. We've gone through the scriptures today, boys and girls. Are the scriptures kind of there as a guide? You don't want to preach it. You just want to see if you can live it. And if you can live it, was that the intended purpose for what the scripture was? To live it, right? Or you fucking want to preach and be a fucking preacher, and then you'd be picked up and thrown like sand into the furnace. All right. I do go on. What else am I to do?
Quite all right, brother. It's quite all right. I like how you wax poetically, brother.
That's it, brother. That's good. That's good. So, are the boys still on the call, or?
Yeah, I believe there's a couple brothers still on the call. Yes.
Yeah, I think this is, if anything, there's some real foundational stuff in this call.
Sure.
And you know, yeah, I think it's kind of like, it's like, you know, for ears to hear. Wow, if it's possible.
Well, Daniel, before we go, brother, just to clarify, I want to make sure I heard the actual answer. What is the way that you would have sent that notice back if that were to you?
Yeah. The way I would have sent that is the note from someone. That's it. Send it back.
Is the note from someone? And if they replied and said yes, it's from Sam Davis.
Okay, I'm not interested in the assumption of what if kind of questions. Just send that back on a separate note. Do not touch the property of that paper. That paper is not your property to fucking wipe your ass with, like some people do. All the Batman crew, they don't respect. This is property, and you need to treat it with the utmost care. The utmost care. And I mean that you look at each paper and you fold it. You don't even, you put it back in the envelope. You don't touch the property. It doesn't belong to you. You treat property that doesn't belong to you with the utmost care, because you do not know where it's from. You don't know if it's from someone or something or whatever. You're considering the unknown force, and it's showing the primal forces of nature that there's someone here who's actually considering the property of the unknown factor, and is not going into the world of destruction. And when you don't go into the world of destruction, you never know. You might be they might start leaving you alone. And when they call you up and you start talking, the same as the way you're sending the notices, the experience that you're starting to receive is you might have a completely upside down, inside out outcome. You just might fucking surprise yourself.
You know, it almost seems like a spell. Like when you open that paper, it affects your.
Yes.
It has like.
That's right, boys. Yes.
Has like I don't know, a reaction, I guess you could say. Or...
Yeah. And if you're a little baby and you showed that piece of paper to the baby, what do you think a little baby or a 1-year-old will do to it? Do you think it has you think it's in possession of knowledge? Do you think it knows what this shit is?
Now, would you not open the?
No, the baby opens it, tears it to pieces. And
I'm just saying, if regardless of the baby, if you receive something in the mail, would you open? If the baby will crumble it up, that's what we all would want to know.
No. Open every envelope that one receives, or rephrase, that is in the mailbox. Open every single envelope, because it's in the documentation is where all the unlearning is. And if you want to do this, if there is a love on the heart, if you want to get out of something, I don't recommend doing this journey. In fact, let's not make another call of it in the future, because unless there's a love in the heart for the Almighty Possessor, then let's keep doing it. If there isn't, and you just want to get out of something and you're just looking for more information, then let's cease these calls, because they're not good for anyone. Absolutely not good for anyone. And I hope that's been recorded. And it's not good for anyone. It's perilous if you're an owner and you want to keep the life that you believe you're living. Keep taking the pills and keep believing the shit that you believe. And there's plenty of other gurus or courts or people out there who people can be entertained by. This is not about entertainment. This call is all about one thing. It is the investigation and the scrutinisation of the very thing that we're trying to move away from, and we're going into it rather than running away from it. It's like going into the eye of the storm.
Is it like trying to get out of Babylon, basically? Like,
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Once you acknowledge Babylon, the demon's grabbing you by the fucking foot and dragging you back into Babylon, and you're
Right.
trying to get the fuck out of there. Sorry, the demon's got you, mate. The demon's going, you're mine, arsehole.
So Daniel, so I've heard you say if you care about winning or getting out of something, you know, I've heard the opinion on that, right? Okay, beautiful. But it would seem that you do care please clarify for me, because like it seems like you do care about solutions to a certain extent, because why else would you study the system and learn how to tweak how you speak to get a certain result, unless
Okay.
it was about a certain result or some
Okay.
kind of result, right?
So if there was one thing to go by, the one thing to go by is how do I live in this world, be in the world but not of the world? If I was in the world, so to speak, or of the world, maybe I see of the world as ownership with a of and ownership. Be in the world, it's like I want to find a way where it's neutral, where one does not engage commerce in a way. You're in a neutral zone, and if that's possible
Being stateless.
to be, yeah. What does one mean by that? But to live in this world amongst your brothers, you can talk as much fucking bullshit as you like. That's fucking fine. But if you want to open your mouth to the unknown force, is there a consequence to that? That's why we're here to explore and to do the journey. And once there's the rude awakening or the surprise in once you start to see, what the fuck have I done? Why am I doing this? Am I waking up too late? Because there's a great movie also, it's called The Alien Covenant. It's the same as this accord with one's thinking and the demon possession, which consumes the mind of man. Once we have taken, we become fully consumed by the very thing we speak, and when the time comes, and then there is always a time where we're put into, if there is a seat of judgment, there will be the balance of scales. Will be balanced with all man. Every man is on the seat of the scale of the balance, and that's the court. And it all comes back to what comes out of that putrid mouth that is going to determine, how one is living on this planet, how they live, and what is to come. So if you want to live a peaceful way, then start training the tongue. Train the tongue in how to speak, and train the ear in how to listen. And you might find that life is a lot of fun, and life is a beautiful thing. If there's such a thing as the concept of life, start living it. Start enjoying it. Be the example. Show people. Don't go looking and seeking for praise. Oh, I did such a good deed this weekend. I did this for people. Fuck you, what you did. You did nothing. You fucking do nothing. You want fucking praise. People will praise you. You don't praise yourself. Nothing is designed for you. It's designed for everyone else. But it ain't designed for you. The house you make is not for you. It's going to someone else. Someone else is going to enjoy the house that you make. And anything you do is always for someone else. Nothing's for you. And when you can start seeing that nothing is for you, or what's for me, then you start accumulating a wealth that's beyond one's understanding, and the wealth that is in the hearts of man, and it's the love primary, as the utmost is the love with the Father, And that's it. That's it. And then secondary is the love for one another. And that doesn't mean engaging into talking to the unknown forces about property that doesn't belong to you. It's asking the proper questions. Yeah, very simple questions. And we've gone through all that before, and maybe another time we can go through that as well again.
Right on, brother.
So I don't know if any of this has been helpful, but it is very much something to deeply ponder on and consider very, very deeply in silence or where there's no distraction. And you know, if it's in the movies and they're showing you what is the calling, and in that notice it talks about a hearing and the calling. It's all fucking there. It's just hard to believe. You open your eyes. If that was the one thing the eyes are open to, let there be sight for the one who can't see. Is to start to see this. It's like there was one in the scripture. Saul, his eyes were covered with fish scales, and his eyes just with a glimpse were opened slightly, and there was a slight glimpse of sight, and that was the sight of the possessor. Yeah.
You know,
And
like back in the day, like they'd say farewell, okay, you know, and that meant like be safe in your travels. Now, when you talk about being left alone, like, is it that kind of equal to that, like, you know, to not be molested in your travels, or, you know?
yeah,
You know
but as soon as you open your mouth, you're going to be molested, right? And that's how it works down here. I mean, maybe it's the same everywhere else. I'm just going by my first-hand experience, if I own such a thing. And you know, farewell, you know, amongst your brother and sister. Yeah, I'll say farewell on this call. Who gives a fuck? Farewell to your brothers. Or you start talking to someone that you don't know, you just say greetings. You can keep the terms and words that you use neutral. You know, the wallet, the car. You know, what do you mean?
Well,
You
I was
know?
just saying, back in the day, like they said that because there was a risk of being robbed in your travel. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you know.
Oh, yes, there you go. Yes. Well, look, there you go. Farewell. In other words, if you're looking at farewell, that's still you're in possession, and you're worried some arsehole's going to rob you, and maybe you need robbing, because the robber waits for you, because you're still holding on to something that don't belong to you. That's a transmission that goes out. Now there's a pursuant. Now there's a chase. Right? You've taken something that you believe you own, and you're hoping that you're going to travel well and safe, so no one fucking robs your sorry ass and rapes everyone that's on board with you.
And what's crazy to me, Daniel, that you brought back the word pursuant up again, is I have that pulled up, and I'm sitting here thinking how wild it is that the second definition for it is in agreement with.
There you go. You're in agreement with that document. There's an accord with your thinking and the document. That is where the psych evaluation begins, right? It's the interpretation of the notice. You're fucked. It's a bit of a head fuck, but this is renewing the mind on a daily basis. Every single day you're doing this. Everything you look at, you investigate it. You know, you think the property down here is any different to the property up there, or down here, up there, wherever, which way, spinning around in fucking space. We're all the same. If it's true, then why do we divide ourselves? You know, what am I doing? What am I doing? Why am I doing it?
I hear you, brother.
Everything comes back to when you start, it shocks you actually once you start seeing those so-called notices from the City Hall. Once you start seeing it, it's quite mind-blowing. You actually, they're showing you a way to the source. You know what I mean? It's quite incredible.
Right. I appreciate the brother for sharing that. That's cool.
Yeah. So so anyway, that's I don't know. That's not a bad call for today. I don't know if Mike is the head that you've been known to use has exploded yet or not, and Greasy Tony whether pizza's all over your face or whatever. But maybe there's some use in this call for you. Who's to know?
Who's to know, brother?
I appreciate your time and your efforts, and you know, it definitely, you know, it provokes thought. Let's just say that, I guess.
Yeah. There you go. Well, if anything, ponder on all things and start to consider before thinking you know shit.
Exactly. I hear you, brother.
Anyway, it's good for the chat, boys. If we have another one sometime, just send me a little sort of
a note,
a little message, a little note. Thank you. You
I
boys
will.
have got to start helping me. I can't do this by myself. You know,
yeah.
I'm a complete fuck up on my own, right? You know, I need one another. If you boys don't take my hand, if I own it, such a thing, and then I can't. What can I fucking do? Yeah, without one another.
What purpose do we have, right?
Yeah, I can't fucking do sweet fuck all. Me what fucking? We need one another, man. This is it. This is where the new frontier is you know, it's not trying to out-compete with one another, all the bullshit we think we fucking know. It's studying the very system that has passed on a technology that we speak. And yes, am I speaking a technology? Yeah. How am I doing it? Okay. Am I doing it because I fucking think I know shit, or am I doing it for a wonderful opportunity? You know, do I see life as a threat or a wonderful opportunity to you know to look into the one thing, the very thing that we discard or resist or reject, and that's they're the notices that come in, and initially we may be in possession of all these things, but hey, that's okay. That's okay. If you can say, is it okay if I'm in possession of these things, and if I was to be shown how to bring these words into subjection, is there the possibility of that happening? You know, put things into question, and humble oneself to the unknown force, the unknown factor. Humble oneself, if it's possible to be humbled in such a stone cold world, if there's such a thing as that.
Cool.
If there's such a thing, brother. Well, appreciate it again, brother. Appreciate it again. Right. Beautiful,
again, boy. Yo, come back now.
Yeah. You need like a theme song at the end, you know, like Beverly Hills.
Ah, yeah.
Batman. Yeah, there you go. It sounds like Batman.
That's funny.
I don't know if you guys have got a theme song. Let's play one every time.